for the first time. First of all, I have to really appreciate you for taking your time and accepting and joining us today live. A big jazakallah and a very big thank you.
Jazakallah. Lovely. It's lovely that a lot of youngsters are, doing discussions like this. So I would like to actually support and, probably request many people to actually do this as well.
So my main aim to this was because I personally believe that everyone out there has their own story to share out, which is worth it, because we can learn in the end of the day something new and something unique from the unique, beautiful story. So that's why we are here, because you've got experience and you've got so many, you are so well educated. So yeah, let's have a good, nice discussion about things to get things better and stuff like that. So
Perfect.
Firstly, I would ask you, like, how's everything going? What's the situation? What are you up to right now?
So I used to be quite busy before the COVID-19 struck. And we had a break from our college. Most of our work was actually on halt until we started to do some programs on Zoom, and I used to do all my lectures and talk shows on Zoom. And overnight, within 3 days, we actually transferred. And something funny is that I am more busier now than I used to be. And because if we set a class on a particular time, it happens at that time. But now randomly it happens at 7 p.m., 9 p.m., 11 p.m. It basically happens, and anyone who misses the sessions, it's getting recorded. So kind of I am overly busy, and my Saturday and Sunday is fully busted because people think, well, you're not traveling, you're at home, so you can do more lectures, and the thing gets overloaded, and that is something which is going on. And I've got used to this very bad habit, bro. I don't know whether it's happening to you, that I work so much that I sleep very late, and I find it very hard to get up in the morning. It's like got into my system. And now my college is working on a roster basis where every other day we work, and I can't get up early morning actually to go to office. I've got used to the system to work the whole night and to be awake till about 3 o'clock. I have my sahar at about 1:32. Then I go off and I get up for Fajr maybe at 5:30 or something.
So you have a totally different routine out there, right? So yeah. So that's most of the case for many teachers nowadays, by the way. So like, as I approached to you saying that initially that we would really love to listen from you something really interesting from your life. So if you could give us a timeline.
Let's build this on. I'll just tell you something very interesting and probably educational for youngsters who are starting their careers in whatever they do, and public speaking and things like that. See, bro, when I was small, like I schooled at Zahira, at Colombo Zahira College. I used to be an all-rounder at many things, but something I was sucking at is public speaking or giving speeches. I was really bad at that. The reason is, me and my cousin brother, we were growing in the same house. He's Dr. Afzal. He's a medical professional. He's Dr. Afzal Zahir. We both were actually kind of going to the same school. We were having a 2-year gap. He's 2 years elder to me. And where else in Zahira, whenever there is a essay competition, I can easily win. It's just nothing. When there is a do you know competition, I was good at it. Only thing I sucked it on the speech competitions. I was given the impression that a good speaker is a person who writes his speech in a piece of paper, memorizes that, and goes and gives the same speech, which my cousin brother was good at it, and many people actually are good at it. They write the whole speech for 4 pages, 3 pages, and they memorize it word to word, and they go front of the audience and they actually deliver it. And I wanted to start doing it, and I started to memorize 3-4 lines, but it's not going into my head. I can probably paraphrase it. I can say it with my own words. I might change something, but it's very hard to actually see the exact flow. So what happened was, in my 13 years career at Zaira College, I was not known to have any speeches of mine, nothing. Until I left school, I started to study in my college. And one particular day in my college, the lecturer asked me to do a particular presentation, and I still remember it was at Nike. And I just came front of the class and I did a presentation for Nike, and my lecturer said, do you like to join here as an assistant lecturer? And my career started as an assistant lecturer. I got into public speaking elsewhere. After 15 years, 15 long years of moving out of school, my school invited me for a talk on Independence Day.
Wow.
On February 6th or something. It's on YouTube on my channel, to give a talk on Independence Day. And I'm going to have all my teachers, whoever, they are old now, it's after 15 years, all my teachers, the old boys, the principals, everyone are there, and the assembly is there in school, and they wanted me to actually speak. For me, it's nothing, it's so easy. I just came there and I spoke for about 45 minutes or 35 minutes about Independence Day, the contribution of Muslims in Sri Lanka towards the independence of Sri Lanka. And those people were the founders of Zaira College, where I studied as well. So I was connecting the dots, talking about some examples, talking about some historical stuff. At the end of the session, you won't believe, my teachers came with their mobile phones to take a selfie with me. How would I feel it? I have a person who took a picture of that, and I put it on Facebook. I feel so honored that my teachers wanted to take a selfie with me. And my teachers said, Intikab, we didn't know that you were a speaker or you can speak. You have never spoken at Zaira College. I didn't know till then. I was thinking, grade 11, 12, 8, 9. Hey, I think they are true. I have never spoken in my school. I have never given a speech. I have never ever given a speech at all. That's because I told students that public speaking, sometimes people have to memorize and speak. Sometimes people are good at what I'm doing now, like, spontaneous. Yeah. Just spontaneously, you give a topic. Sometimes I can connect the dots. I can go for hours if we keep spontaneously talking about stuff. This is also public speaking, which when I was small, I didn't know. I thought public speaking is someone is going to have a piece of paper, memorize it and read it, which is also a talent, But I was not good at that, but I was good at a different talent. By the time I got to know that was a talent, I had left school 15 years. Had I been in school, I would have won some more prizes for speech competitions, but I only knew that after 15 years I left school. So that's something interesting for your audience, for youngsters to learn something.
It makes sense, because the same, I'm also kind of that, because I find myself really hard when I by heart a speech, or if I were to talk to you today, like, this is what I'm going to talk to, I'm going to get confused. It's not like that. I come, just openly talk to them, whatever it is. I just connect the dots. That's the beauty of public speaking and stuff.
Correct.
So you don't believe that you should only by heart and do that stuff, no? So very amazing and really inspiring this. So today, as I came to you, since you have a really good experience in this educational industry, and you have also, you are also a former lecturer in the University of Colombo, right? So,
yeah.
So I wanted to pitch this question to you, asking that how important is knowledge, how important is education for us as youth to carry on? So if you would like to talk about that topic.
Education, a lot of people think that education is something which we only learn from books. But I believe that education is what you learn from books. Education is being street smart. There are people, bro, who don't have a single qualification, but they have gone into the streets and become very smart, and their practical knowledge is far more ahead what the books can actually tell you. So education is equally important if you know your stuff, if you have read well. the more you read, the more you learn, the more you meet people, the more you learn, the qualifications you have, which will also be important in your life. Apart from that, any of your skills can be also education. If I have a special skill of crafting something, now look at the career of Sanat Jayasuriya. What was the career he had? He was a cricketer. Isn't he a successful? Yes. Bro, when I used to study my A-levels, few years ago, of my A-level arena was the exact time where our former cricket captain or vice captain, Mahela Jayawardena, was studying for his A-levels. And I believe he was from Nalanda College. He was studying for his A-levels, and as you know, the local exam is in August. By July, when he was playing cricket for his school, and while he was having A-levels in August, what happened was he got a foreign tour to go with Sri Lanka, right? He had a career changing decision to do, whether to take A-levels or whether to go in his passion of playing cricket. Everyone, 90% or 98% people said, don't be a fool, man. Go back and do A-levels. A-level is life. A-level is everything. If you don't have A-levels, you can't stand on the road with anyone. You can't stand on your own feet. No one will give you a job. You won't have that experience. You won't have this experience. However, he followed his passion, and 20 years later, who is Mahela Jayawardena? A successful cricketer, an entrepreneur, a person who is initiating Sri Lanka's first private cancer hospital, a person who is a brand ambassador, a person who is a philanthropist. And I tell my students, had he selected his A-levels and only studied A-levels, for a 75,000 salary, he will be working somewhere now.
That's true.
So education is your talent, your skill, whatever you do. In my school, most of the people who had A grades are not the best in their careers. Most of the people who were actually middle or latter are the best in their careers. People who have A grades are not the best, and that's like a general thing which happens always. Because what happens is, in education, people misunderstand is that education is the big degrees, the qualifications you have, the more you have to study, the more you have to do, all that. See, sometimes we might lose in life. There is nothing much than, what you can learn from, practical experiences as well. For most of my talk shows, I used to bring the chairman of Hamidiyas, Fawzul Hamid. The stuff he tells, okay, you can't basically gather it from any book. You need to sit with him and talk with him and actually learn it. Even you will understand that, you have someone like that, it's good. And Islamically also, Islamically, what's the difference in you trying to study the Bukhari Hadith versus you keep a teacher and the teacher is teaching you is different. You need a person to do that. Practical experience is important, not just having that education is what I think. So I always tell my students, don't worry. Like in Singapore, one principal wrote a letter, and he wrote that letter, and he came and read the letter front of the assembly when the parents were there. He says that in this audience of my students, there is an artist where his creativity matters more than his maths. There will be a person whose creativity matters more than math. In this, there will be a sportsman who will probably bring an Olympic gold medal to Singapore, where his science knowledge does not matter to him. So, education is to figure out where your passion is there, and not just a portion of it, which is studying.
That's a really good point. Because when you have knowledge, it's easier to find what field you are good at, right? So yeah, here comes the point that I want to talk to you specifically. Specifically, I wanted to pitch this question to you, asking that, like nowadays we have overvalued the formal education. When I say formal education, it's like going to a university or a school, getting a degree, stuff like that. Because we are like, if you have a degree only, you can talk anything. You don't have a degree, no talk with you. It's like that. We overvalue this educational system, and we are really obsessed of this. Because not in Sri Lanka. When I look at this out abroad places where they have this education industry, it's like mind-boggling for them to charge a massive amount of, when it comes for this education, you have to spend a lot to learn. It's not just free learning. So you might have traveled all along the world, so you might know this. It makes sense because it's gonna cost you so much to get into a field. So what do you say about this? For a person who wants to learn something, if he isn't really, if he doesn't have all this access, for example, if he doesn't have these monetary or financial access, what can he do?
See, in my whole career, I have met students who have actually tried various ways. I work for a group of universities which are actually having medical colleges. They're having medical universities. As you know, medical studies is pretty expensive. I had one student, and I met him 4 years ago, and I still remember him, and I'm like guilty that I can't do anything. Neither anyone can do anything. The words he basically came and said to me is like, I really don't know what to do. You know, I don't have money to fund him, but I don't know what should I do. He came and told to me that he's studying at Royal College, a very poor boy, but a very smart boy. You know, what's his results? 3 A's. And he couldn't get selected to the Sri Lankan university system. And he can't do anything with the 3 A's now. He wants to become a doctor, but he can't become a doctor in the Sri Lankan system. He's a few marks less. He can try going overseas, but he still has to fund certain things. Some universities fund the education, but not the hostel and the food and allowance. Some who give you the tuition and the hostel, that university is not recognized in Sri Lanka. Like this, there are complications. This student, I asked him, what about your batch? He said, my batch, there are 32 students, 30 are in the university studying medicine. Only I and this one left over. And I asked, how many are in your family? We have 3 people, and my father is very particular what he spends. And this person, every year, he always comes to educational exhibitions to find his placement where he can study medicine, but he basically can't. So to answer your question, to say that, you know, having money is one thing. Apart from having money, it's about your perseverance of looking for options. Keep writing to people. Keep writing to people. If you look at some universities, they actually consider special cases for special privileged students actually to help them out. Let it be even Oxford, Harvard, you just keep writing to them, keep writing to about 100 universities, 20 people, 25 people will come back to you. When 25 people come back to you, there will be some luck which will work, which will help you on it. But you need to strive that. You need to try writing for all of them. You know, you need to actually work hard to actually convince, why should I get a scholarship? Why should I do this? Because I really want to study and I'm looking forward to study and I really need this help. You have to give that urge actually to the universities. Then probably there is actually a chance where, you know, it can be done.
Like I'm not talking like for certain for you to get into some field, like you said, medicine, doctor, you have to study under an institute. You have to get that education, like on their required this one. So what I'm meaning is, for most of the fields, like if it's like business, if it's like getting into IT, general fields, if you're getting into it, but people don't know, like they are really obsessed of formal education, where they forget about this self-education, because we have so many free access nowadays. Like there are so many content out there on YouTube, in Khan Academy. So there is so many access for people to get knowledge for free, totally for free. But why do we people stick around this formal education? We overvalue. That's the only thing that I have this problem, because I study for a degree, and also I really value this formal educational system. But what I mean is, we people in society, like, we accept those who have a degree. Like you said, if we are totally successful like Mahela Javardhana, it's totally fine. But at times people don't go to that extent, right? But for these people, what do you say? How important is it?
Yeah, I think I got the point of what you want to actually say. The self-obsession of studying very formal is kind of, bro, it's like a trend. It's like a pattern. It's like a style. When I used to study, going for SIMA classes used to be a style, and the people actually didn't know what are they going to do like after studying SIMA. So, hey, you're studying SIMA, right? Okay, so you want, do you think you can work inside an office room being an accountant? No, that's very boring. Well, if it's boring, why are you studying SIMA? No, everyone is studying SIMA. Everyone is studying SIMA. This kind of formality, I think has little by little changed. Khan Academy has gone out of the way to actually give education like this. In Harvard, there are many professors who are making things free. But what people actually are not looking into is that they want to actually go with this trend, go abroad, go to England and study, go to America and study. This kind of obsession is there. But what I kind of see in people from your age group is that there is a trend that now they want to kind of, they kind of have the information and the access to this. What they want to do is they want to start their own business. They want to actually maybe work part-time in an office, and they want to do their degree. After 4 or 5 years, the person is qualified in something. The person has also, the business is being run. He has some savings as well. This is one point. Second point is, I have seen people, Mahela Javardhana is probably a 1 out of a 1 lakh case. I have seen people who have actually no sense of any formal education. They didn't get into the trap of, I need to study a degree. Studying a degree is very good. We all did it. But see, I know people who have a degree and who are like not doing much in their life. They didn't know how to make use of their degree. I know some people who are my students who studied, who are learning with me, and I always tell them a couple of things, bro. I always say that if you're coming to my class, especially I teach a small lesson on entrepreneurship. I teach a course on entrepreneurship, and I say them, if you're coming to my class, there are three groups of students studying here. The third group is people who are sitting and waiting. They are useless. I don't like them. The second is people who are studying entrepreneurship, who are going to start up their business. Number one, who has a business, who are successful, who are going to take it to the international level. The third group are the group of people who are in my class who want a degree behind their name. You know, what do they want, bro? They want to put on Facebook and on Instagram that they had a graduation. They had a graduation. They want to say that they have this qualification. They want that's it. So I tell them that you have an MBA, but your material, you're not MBA material. And when people look at your degree, they will laugh at you. They will say that you have done a useless qualification because the qualification has not added value to you. Versus that, I will see that whatever you said is happening, where people have come out of this obsession of formal education, but who are trying different things. One example, before you take it on from this, my classmate, who is the co-founder of PickMe, and who is the co-founder of YoHoBed, Fatih Mohammed, right? I always bring him to my classes, and I always say that this guy is an example of a person who did not believe and go with formal education. Who did not go with formal education. He studied at Zahira with us. He went to do SIMA, never completed it. He just did a few stages or few subjects, never completed it. Number two, okay, he went to do an IT degree, never completed it. He tried to do more than about 7 to 8 businesses until he saw where PickMe and YoHoBed is actually going today. Up to now, Fatih Mohammed stands as an entrepreneurial mentor for lots of TV programs. Does he have a degree? No. I have taken him for more than 3 to 4 universities to teach and guide and motivate and coach MBA students who are doing in entrepreneurship. And I always take him, and he always tells me, Intikab, you know that don't have any academic qualification. I tell him, that's exactly what I want. That's exactly. If you come with an academic qualification, you are inside a box and you're thinking the way your books have taught you. You didn't believe in that formal education. What I'm teaching students is academic. I want you to give the ingredients of something which is not there in the books which you have learned. Fatih is not going to go and study his bachelor's or master's, or he won't do any of that. But he is far more successful in his career, in his decision, than most of us who even have a degree, because he didn't believe in formal education. So for those youngsters, I always say is that there is an opportunity somewhere. It's just that you have to see where is it exactly going to fit. It might fit in one place, it might not fit in one place. If it doesn't fit there, just go on and try something else. It might actually fit in.
Very true, very true. This is the exact thing that I wanted to hear from you. So, well said. And this is what I want to really, because this is the concept that I also believe in. Because, yeah, like I said, there are some knowledge, some education that you have to go through an institute or a university to learn. But some, by experience, by things that you go through, you could easily learn. And that's the one point that
I'll tell you something also funny with regarding to this. You know, most of our motivational speakers are too hyper, and you know they are like too motivational, like, and you go and listen to their speech and the fellows are like, tomorrow I'm going to do this, yes I'm going to do that, and you know after 1 week they are like really like down. You know, the most interesting things which they used to tell me, and they used to tell in speeches, you would have heard this many times. My dear students, look at what is common with that particular person. They will tell, okay, what is common with me, not with me, but that person is saying what's common with that person. Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, and Steve Jobs. We all got kicked from school. We all got kicked from university. We all left our university studies to go and do our business. That is the thing they tell. I take the same story and I always tell in my talk shows, listen very carefully. Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, and Steve Jobs, they left Harvard University. To leave Harvard University, you have to enter Harvard University. To enter Harvard University, you have to be an exceptional student. They are rare. These three are 1 out of 1 million rare cases who got into Harvard. Everyone at Harvard are special. Every student, a class has 40 students. Every 40 students at Harvard are special cases. They are specially intelligent, or there is a special DNA in them. That's why they entered. They can anytime get out of Harvard and get in to continue their studies. That doesn't mean for you and me to kick our institution and go back and say that, you know, I am like Mark Zuckerberg, you know, I was kicked out and I am successful. No, I always tell them that they entered Harvard and Harvard is an amazing institution. Don't think that, you know, they just left Harvard like Harvard is number one, man. I've almost come to Harvard, but I couldn't go to Harvard. I did a small course, a small training on choral. It's also on Islamic choral music at a university called Yale. Yale is fourth rank. Harvard is number one. I'm telling you, Harvard is special. If you can get in there, it's good. If you can leave there, there is no harm. Leaving Harvard is a qualification. People respect you. To leave Harvard, you got into Harvard. You are special. So Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, and Steve Jobs are special people, which motivational speakers, they don't use that to encourage people. Yeah.
That's a really good point. So yeah. Very true. And also, like, after this COVID, and we came to know, like, you would have watched Nas Daily, that he posted the last video saying that like, this education industry is gonna change. This is gonna affect. So I'm not talking about in a perspective of an industry, but what I want is, basically, I want to learn something new. So, like, is it like now we know no one is gonna pay so much and get into a university where it has a Zoom call only. Either you can get into so many contents, like you said, YouTube and Khan Academy, and there are so many platforms out there like Udemy. Wow, so you could get into that and learn. But what should be focused right now? Right now, what is the action that we should take? We spoke all this time. Especially I'm asking for me because what do I do? Like, since I'm interested in, so basically I'm interested in this business finance sector. So yes, I do learn and I do practice, but I'm not into this formal education and stuff. So how do I get into this? What are the skills that I improve?
When coming to the education industry, I have seen that there is a pretty pretty big trend actually, which is coming in. Is that people are not only going to online, they will actually have a variety of online. Now, Shabir, what you said is totally true. It's example in Sri Lanka. It's not. I'm not mentioning the name. Let's say that brand A and brand B. In Sri Lanka, it's not a difference whether you are registered with brand A or brand B. Why? Both are doing it on Zoom. So I don't go to the class, or I don't get any facilities. I don't see a difference now. All the institutions in Sri Lanka, the universities are kind of actually same. So what happens is, within the courses, whatever they can actually give you for a future reference is important. So when we talk about future reference, we see that whatever we are studying now in another couple of years is going to be outdated. Who is having a certificate, or who is having a training, or who is having an exposure given to you in these areas will be the best actually to look into. For an example, what is the position called data scientist? We did not know a couple of years ago. We now know that a data scientist is a person who is going to examine big data, and that examination of big data, he and another data expert is going to dig into trends to sell it to companies and to say, in the month of April, if all goes all, you're going to get profits between 30 million to 35 million because this customer base is going to come. Now we will tell you, how can you make 30 million, 70 million? This is the kind of thing which is now changing. There is something also, a new job profile called data detectives. The people who are actually monitoring these data and seeing what's happening. Why am I loyal to Hamidias and No Limit? Example. They will sell data to Hamidias and say, he comes to Hamidias because of this, he goes to No Limit because of that. If you can give him that, or that person can give him this, he will be loyal to only one. So this is like a detective who is actually going and figuring out things. Now to come to also another part which you asked, while we are basically what do we say, learning this online stuff. Shabir, have you noticed that some people in this quarantine time, they have gone on Google and done a small course, and Google gives you a certificate on Google Analytics? Have you seen that?
Yes, yes.
I'm telling you, in future, you should be able to print that certificate, put it in your file, and take it to interviews and go, and in the interview, they will ask you and you will say that, yes, I did a Google Analytics course. Now, can you imagine doing a course with Google 5-6 years ago? Oh, Google, very expensive. This is free. This is free. So people like Khan Academy is a well-respected, he is a very respected individual. His concept he bought is a very reputable concept. If he can give some authorization like that, if Udemy can give some authorization like that, what you said is going to happen. And my friend Shabir, what you said, universities are kind of taking it as whether these people, these courses will be a competition with us. that you can learn from home. You can get teachers and learn from home. You can be your own teacher. I mean, honestly, Google and YouTube has taught us quite a lot. What if this is going to go to the next level? Universities have got pretty much scared. My forecast is it will at least take about another 5 years to 6 years. Sometimes the university system might change. The competition of what you're saying, your idea, your thought, that particular thought, if like you, in another 5 years, people who are today at the age of 13, 14, 15, who will be at the age of 18, 19, 20 in the next 5 years, if it strikes them, what they are going to do is they are actually going to go through virtual education, and by then showing virtual certificates is going to be the trend. Not having a formal education in university is actually going to be a trend at all. I think that things are actually changing a lot. And how long will it take universities to adjust to virtual reality, augmented reality? Our universities are trying to cope up with this, but it's too expensive. But now what happens is, if someone brings a virtual reality lens, you can probably learn it from home itself by connecting it to your device, and kind of you don't have to wait till the university do it, and you have actually done it. Next, what happens is your interpersonal skills. When you go for an interview, you have to outsmart the student who has done all this in the university. Now that is individually between you, me and everyone, that my or yours or someone's interpersonal skills have to be perfectly good. That person will ask, how did you study all this? What do you know? I have to show that I have boast. I have to humbly boast about myself to say that, I have gone through these and these and these things, which today is the trend. The person who comes from a university side, who has a formal education, if he can't express himself properly, then it might be a risk from him. He might not be able to actually get a satisfied salary or a better job, because the other person actually has convinced with his interpersonal skills. That's the main thing.
Okay. So, like, what are the recommendations that you would recommend us to learn specifically after this COVID? Because we understand, we realize, we know what's the demand going out there right now. Like you said, public speaking is a very good plus point, a very good skill that everyone should be focusing on, and communication skills. So what are the, just give us a couple of skills we should, we in the sense, me, let me say me, because I would surely love to learn something, because what are the skills that I should perfect and master?
I created a particular workshop which actually had a picture of me before COVID-19. When I used to go for a job, what will I actually take into a job? What am I going to take? I'm going to be used to sit in office, work in office, have a nice designation, all this stuff. Now what happens is, people are not worried about designations. So one skill which you need is, don't worry about titles, don't worry about designations. You are going to sometimes convince people on a phone call. Get yourself more than a telesales person who can actually talk, describe, make the product, make this product sellable on just a phone call, and make sure that you are servicing him well. So your interpersonal skills, your critical thinking, give students the possibility to quickly think at something to make a decision before it's too late. So in our class, we used to create games. I don't know whether you know this particular format, which is called Kahoot. Kahoot is a gaming thing where you can ask questions, and you can keep a competition between people to think fast. We need people to think fast. We need people to have the quality to think fast. We need critical thinking. We need people who will know something, at least something about algorithms. People who can read numbers. People who actually are ready to multitask, to do many things at the same time. Okay, not just concentrate on one thing, but to do many wider things at the same time. These people, whatever said and done will have a future great demand than the person who will go and ask, sir, where do I work today? Do I get a laptop? Do I get a computer? Where do I sit? Does my AC work where I sit here? What time is my lunch break? No, all those are actually not important, because in future, the job market, the industries have changed drastically. People are actually now waiting to work from anywhere they can. They will take the possibility of working from where they can start from the lowest. So wearing a face mask or not, meeting people or not, these kind of things are there. If skill, okay, if your skills, speaking skills are not good at all, in the future, it might be a very, very risky time actually to convince to get even a job at that time.
That's so we should be focusing more on skills to.
We have to focus more on skills, because if you go on Google, I always take, when I used to do my lectures, I go and search in Google the skills needed for 2020. And whatever I searched 3 months ago changes after about a couple of months. So I know that these kind of things are getting updated. Now, after COVID-19, you will see after COVID-19, the way the algorithm analytics are going, some other keywords might pop up and they will say that in end of 2020, these are the top skills what we need.
Okay. So skills are an additional thing for your career or stuff like that. But for the starting initiative, what should we take? Like, because like we spoke about formal education before, we have brought up in this culture that if you want to get into some career, you should have a degree, because for a job, if you're going to apply and say the interviewer, no, trust me, I'm good at this, he's not going to hire you. He's going to ask you, where is the degree? Where is the certificate? How do I agree that you have this education? But if I really know that, yes, I am capable of it, how do this change, or how do this happen now?
Interesting. That's where the talent of your creativity actually comes. Okay. I basically, I don't know, Shabir, whether you know that I am just in the urge of finishing my PhD. And when I finish my PhD, I'm going to actually start up a different career of in terms of my career, to write books. And I have thought of writing a couple of autobiographies. And one of the autobiographies I will write is about Fatih Mohammed of PICME, right? And I will probably be in touch with me. I want probably when I have the launch end of this year or beginning or the mid of next year, I'll tell you how it's going to work. I'm going to share you one thing which I actually learned from him. He's street smart. Does he have an academic point? No, he's street smart. How do you develop street smart is what we actually have to see. How do you develop street smart? What I actually saw in him is that I was working for a research company in 2005-06. The name of the research company was called AC Nielsen. I had my marketing background. I wanted to do that. Fatih Mohammed also wanted to join me. Fatih doesn't have an educational qualification so far. Even now he doesn't have, right? He goes with his street smart skills. Now what happens is, I told him, Machang, you give your CV. We will put your CV and see how it goes. Okay. Shabir, a question to you. If you are going to give a printed CV for a multinational company which is in 104 countries, you are going to give your CV. Tell me, how will you give your CV? Like, what type of a CV will you give?
Very formal, and whatever the qualification I have, I'm gonna bundle it up.
How many pages will you give?
Most probably 2.
That's very good. Fatih gave me 2 pages. Don't think Fatih gave me like 50, 60 pages. No, Fatih didn't have much to say. He gave me just 2 pages. He came and gave to my hand a dark blue A4 sheet. His CV was on a dark blue A4 sheet. I took that and I said, Machang, Fatih, what the hell is this? Who gives CV in colored paper? Are you crazy? I can't do this. Are you crazy? Go and get it on a white sheet. He said, no. In white sheet, they won't see my CV. In the blue sheet, they will see my CV. So I told him, okay, let's see how this goes. So what I did was I went and put it into the system. We had 250 or 260 CVs. Everyone in HR is like, who the hell is that person who has given a blue? Take that fellow out. We need to call him for an interview and get him down. And we also have to ask him, why did you give it in blue color? Ultimately, only he was called. They were so taken up with his risk-taking ability. I always tell my students, just because Fatih did it, you don't go to do it. Fatih is an out-of-the-box individual. You don't go to do it. Okay, he did it, but you don't go to do it. Fatih came there and he said, and he did it well, and actually he was actually working in the research company with us. Bro, Shabir, I think these kind of skills is not taken from books. Have you watched the movie of Leonardo DiCaprio, which is called The Wolf of Wall Street?
Wolf of Wall Street, the best movie for entrepreneur.
There are 6 movies I recommend for my students. If you know these movies, fine. If you don't, check into it. There is something called The Founder, The Story of McDonald's. There is something called Wolf of Wall Street. There is something called Pursuit of Happiness. There is something called The Social Network of Mark Zuckerberg. 4 movies. There are another 2. One is about Adidas. I can't remember the name. These are top movies actually to see. Do you remember in Wolf of Wall Street the part which Leonardo DiCaprio tries to give a pen and says, can you sell this pen back to me? And you saw how they sell, right? This pen is good to write. This pen is okay. And Leonardo DiCaprio says, watch and wait how that guy sells the pen, and he gives him to him. And he asks from Leonardo, what are your career objectives in your life? Can you write it and show me? And he says, hey, I don't have a pen. That's why you need a pen here. And he sells the pen. Guys, do you think this kind of a knowledge you can get in books or something like that? No. Thank God we have speakers doing TEDx talks, movies and all. Before I sleep, I at least look at 1 or 2 TEDx sessions to actually learn from that. Because what I learn will be outdated fast. The day it's outdated, people won't invite me for talks. People won't come to my classes. They think that, I am old school. But to be novel, I have to learn. And this learning is not like those days. This learning is now everywhere. Don't wait till you get don't let yourself down like Shabir, what you said, I don't have money to study. I need a scholarship. Scholarship will take years. No, you just start from somewhere and let the ball rolling. Let it go. Get used to this. Youngsters today are doing this. Youngsters today are doing this. Let it go, and little by little you will learn some interesting, fantastic skills actually, which you probably will never ever learn in school or in university. In university, did they ever teach you about innovation? We don't have the subject called innovation. Risk-taking skills, how to have accounts, how to have personal accounts, how to be a leader. Can you run an organization and show us? We didn't have these kind of skills. You can learn these kind of skills from where you are actually. So I think the best thing is to be your own mentor until you get yourself sorted, because you're not Mahela Javardhan or Sanat Jayasuriya to overnight be successful. But get some time. I think you might, inshallah, one day reach there, because everyone has started somewhere from there only in their life. Everyone. Fauzul Hamid Shabir in Hamidiyas was a tailor, measuring, he was a tailor with his grandfather. He used to measure the trousers, shirt sleeves. From there, that is where he has gone. Today, even if you ask him and give him a tape, can you tell the order of how do you measure a shirt? He will do it correctly, because he is a tailor. The Vedamahatya of Siddhalepa, he was an Ayurvedic student. So he has made medicine. He knows about natural medicine. So everyone started from ground grassroots level. Today, all of us are in the same level with, how the education and the world is going on. I think it's a better way of how people like you, youngsters, can actually come out in what their dreams are. Don't keep this education barrier I need a big certificate. I need a big graduation photo. I need a big graduation cloak, a hat. I need to show off my friends. No, you can be street smart like Fatih Mohammed. It's just up to you whether you want it or not. That's it.
Wow.
Shabir, personal question, by the way, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Where did you cut your hair, bro?
No, it's grown, bro. I've like combed it. My hair doesn't grow so long.
I'm pretty much scared to go to a barber, so I'm waiting till it's really safe in my mind. Then I go and cut my hair.
It looks good. Don't cut. Like perfect. So yeah. So Jazakallah for like giving all this information and all this sharing all this knowledge, because this is the one thing that I wanted to learn really. Like I'm looking for this answer, and you properly gave that in a proper manner. So Jazakallah for joining us and sharing all your knowledge. If you would like to give a last message for us,
yeah.
What would it
be? Something we spoke about. We spoke about where I think youngsters should head, what they should do. But now I'm going to tell you before we close off this live, Shabir, what youngsters should not do. What they should not do. A lot of youngsters are motivated by the words of Mark Zuckerberg, and they think they can become millionaires very soon. They want a 6-figure salary like this. They don't want to travel by bus. Shabir, youngsters don't want to travel by bus. They want to go in a 3-wheel, Prestige. They want to go in a Prestige. They want to go in a 3-wheel. They want to rent a car. That is not the way actually you do things. You have to start small from somewhere. 1 out of a million case. 1 out of a million. We don't know whether you're that million. We don't know you're that million. 1 out of a million case, you might get lucky. In my one of my lecture slides, I always talk about Sachin Tendulkar to say, everyone in India wants to be Sachin Tendulkar, but how many can play cricket? 1.3 billion wants to be like Sachin Tendulkar, but how many? India has so many states. How many can enter the 11 cricket team? Everyone wants to be like A.R. Rahman, but people can't do that. You're not 1 out of a million case. So mind you that youngsters who do things, you have to know that you won't get money fast. You might work a lot and your boss might give you like a 25,000 or a 20,000 salary. Don't make fun of it. That 20,000 it's a lesson to you. Just think that your boss has taught you a lesson and he's giving you a small money. Now, when you want to study a lesson, you pay fees, right? Then only you study. Your boss is teaching you some office lessons, some people handling skills, some team management skills, some time management. Come to work at 9 o'clock. Don't have the discipline like, hey, I'm like Mark Zuckerberg. I can't work on time. No. You have to start somewhere. Learn that, and your boss is giving you a small salary, 25,000, just for your traveling and for eating 3 meals. You can't save much with 25,000, but he's helping you to learn. You learn this for 2 years, that will transform better. My youngsters are kind of being misled, thinking that, I start up a company, it will flourish really well. It's going to be really well and I can do this. No, guys, it takes time. Be patient. Get advice from youngsters and see whether, get advice from youngsters and see whether, this actually can help you in your career. Afterwards, you can actually see whether it's working or not.
So, first of all, I want to ask you a question. Do you have a personal beef with Mark Zuckerberg? Because you're not really good with him.
Sorry, hold on.
Yeah.
I can hear you, but the volume is a little less. It's something from, I think, my side. Just 1 second. What did you say?
So, no, I wanted to ask, do you have personal beef with Mark Zuckerberg? Because
always I used to actually talk about that.
Personal beef with Mark Zuckerberg. So I'm here.
I understand. I understand. It's good because a lot of people actually look into the success of what they have based on these people. I was Shabir looking at a person for a particular entrepreneurial workshop. My goodness, I found a person in Sri Lanka. I think he's not in Colombo. He's out of Colombo. His name is Dilina. He's a person who develops apps, and his age is 21 years. He's yes, I got a call now. That's why I think I lost the voice, but now it's okay, right? He's a person who is 21 years. His name is Dilina Dakshina, who is 21 years. He makes apps. He's Sri Lanka's youngest millionaire. He's like the Mark Zuckerberg of Sri Lanka. He started to Dilina Dakshina. Yes, correct for the name. He started to make his apps at the age of 16, and he basically has bought the first luxury car also at the age of 16, and now he has ordered a Lamborghini and it's on its way. So everyone think they can do this, but it doesn't work for everyone. It works only for some. That's my ultimate thing. I say youngsters, they look at Dilina Dakshina's story where he has earned millions, and suddenly I go to Unilever, HSBC and get a 20,000 rupees. Hey, how do I go and tell my friends my salary is 20,000? They will laugh at me. What can I do with 20,000? I can't do anything with 20,000. These people will do like that, things like that. Okay.
So yeah. So by the way, like, what are you into? You didn't say anything about you.
About me?
Yeah.
What do you want to know about me?
So, like, who are you? Like, to get to know you very good. So
basically, I started my career. I started in short. Okay, in 2 minutes, I started my career as a lecturer in somewhere like 2005. Up to now, I am teaching for about 17 years. In the middle, I thought, I will try various things. I got into a group called the Muslim Choral Ensemble, which is Islamic classical Qasida group, which sings classical poetry like Tala al-Badr, As-Subh Bada, or Qasidatul Burda. And we perform in various countries. I have at the moment performed in a lot of places in Sri Lanka.
We have 1.5 minutes for this live to finish.
Okay. So we were doing that. I have visited the Yale University in United States, visited London. I have been also positioned myself as an Islamic speaker as well. In the university, I was in the University of Colombo for 3 years. I used to admin a lot of people's research and things like that. So currently my lecturing is going. I'm looking at starting a new career as a writer. And Shabir, I want to introduce something like the Khan Academy in Sri Lanka in terms of entrepreneurship and management, free of charge for students. I have started by having my lectures free on my YouTube account. I'm in the urge of making a website and an app for people for free of charge, which they can actually look into. So
what is your YouTube page?
It goes as Intikab Zufar.
Okay, super. So inshallah, we will meet for maybe we will meet inshallah after this overs, and we would talk in person inshallah. Jazakallah for coming, and really appreciate for taking your time and stuff. Inshallah, looking forward to meet you. Barakallah, take care, and thank you very much for having me here. Yeah, Jazakallah. See you guys. Bye.